Welcome to Tesla Field Physics. I'm Mike Telasky. In this video, I'd like to continue where I left off in last video, talking about the huge man-made step pyramid that they're building inside the calcite quarry here at Rogers City, Michigan. Rogers City, Michigan made national headlines back in 2023 because this is where they did the shoot down of the so-called Chinese spy balloon on Super Bowl Sunday. They were supposed to go and retrieve the debris out of the harbor here in Rogers City, but they never did that because that was just their cover story. Because this whole thing is a bunch of cap, and I'm about to blow the cap off everything. So I'll show you all the evidence for what I'm talking about, because what I think is happening is that they're trying to build up this big pyramid because they've seen the effects that my pyramids basically had and how much craft that they can't keep out of the airspace that these things are attracting. So what's going on with this whole thing is that the Civil Air Patrol literally showed up here last year in the summer, which literally stands for CAP, C-A-P, Civil Air Patrol. And they started doing all these torsion field readings over my pyramids to see what the fields were doing. Okay, and then you're seeing what you're seeing now. So I'm going to show you how this whole thing progressed and where we're at now, because what I think is happening is they want to try to lure these real ET craft in so that they can shoot them down and then reverse engineer their technology and then implement it back into whatever they're working on. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. Rocket City, Michigan. Let's get into it. Okay, so they're hiding all this stuff right in plain sight. And here's literally their cover story, because it's on the cover of the Michigan County Lines Presque Electric and Gas Company. So this is Presque County that Rogers City's in, and the whole thing is dealing with energy. So this is from the November to December 2024 issue, right in plain sight. They're giving you clues, but if you're not picking up on them, then it's just gonna go over your head. Okay, so what they're doing here, it's all dealing with energy. When you're dealing with this whole thing, you're dealing with pressure differentials. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You can see from this haul truck here down in one of the benches how deep that this is below the lake level. Okay, so there's a pressure differential being created here. It's the same thing on how UFO craft are operating. The Rogers City quarry is a huge man-made negative or a dielectric that's in the ground. And it's creating this very condition that I'm about to show you on how the UFO are traveling. Okay, what they're doing, they're setting up this so-called gravity well in front of the craft, which is pulling the craft forward. So when you set up this slope or this gradient, the reaction that you get is the pulling forward. So I'm going to show you an example of my levitating pencil here. So it's just a maglev pencil because this is how everything's working. Okay, so in this area right here is where the gravity well is being created. Okay, this. and it's having an effect that it's pushing forward on this back piece right here. Okay, so when you're dealing with Nikola Tesla, his whole thing, he said his greatest discovery was that of the rotating magnetic field. And I'm going to give you an example of what he's talking about. So when you do this and spin it, there's your rotating magnetic field. That's what Nikola Tesla said his greatest discovery was. And that's how this whole thing is working. So it's like this. When you keep layering all this material on top of each other and building it up, it's like taking windings on a coil, and each wind that you make, it keeps stepping up and increasing. So your effect just continues to grow. That's what they're doing, using this connection between the earth and the ionosphere, just like my concrete pyramids are doing, that set off this whole thing with caps showing up here and doing all the torsion field readings over my spots where I got these pyramids set up. Because they wanted to get a baseline probably before they started building this thing to see what it was really doing in the area, and then they're going to take more measurements. So this is going to be an ongoing experiment that you're seeing here. So when you when you're dealing with electricity, there's two things that make up electricity: the magnetic and the dielectric. Those two components have to exist, or else you don't have electricity. And that's what nobody can figure out at this point, because everybody's been taught wrong. So this whole thing is showing you how it's working. Okay, this is the electric field of a conductor. Okay, and when you're talking about this pyramid, you're seeing the circular is the magnetic. Okay, and then your up and down is the dielectric. So your magnetic field would be surrounding the earth like this in circles, and then your vertical electric field, what they call it, extends. So here's like the surface of the earth. So the higher that you keep getting up toward the ionosphere, towards 70 to 100,000 feet, that's where like all the lightning is, because lightning is nothing but a dielectric discharge in the counter space. So it's always looking for ground. So the higher up that you go, the more it increases. So the higher up that this pyramid keeps stepping up, it's getting higher and higher into the vertical electric field. So they're talking about two things interestingly in this article. They're talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza, which when you get up to the top of the Great Pyramid, there's people that have already done this. They got like something that's conductive, and they can take readings off here and show you how much electricity is up here. So they mentioned that, and then they mentioned the the Dubai Palm Islands that's man-made in this article. So they're giving you hints on what they're doing. So like I said, the higher up that you keep getting this thing, the more that you're able to generate, because it's dealing with the whole Earth ionosphere connection. So when I'm talking about this layering being a dielectric, this is what I mean. The dielectric is what holds the electric charge. K value is a constant. Dielectric constant is how much electricity that material can hold. So air has a K dielectric value of 1. High K is a metallic or a ceramic material. And they're saying this is how you create the gravity wave. It's like I'm saying the whole thing with the pressure differential in the core, it's doing the same exact effect. And this is what the entrance to the calcite harbor looks like. It's that U shape. And they give us the Illuminati number 13 when they designate Rogers City on this map. Because this whole thing's cap, I'm telling you. It's all about the whole 0 point, free energy, faster than light stuff that they're hiding. But they're hiding it in plain sight. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay, these bottles of Mountain Dew explain everything. Okay. The reason that it's this bluish purple is because that's what plasma is. That's the whole thing on how they're able to do all this stuff. It's natural and it's man-made. And this is how all this stuff's working. So instead of hot fusion, this is cold fusion. So you can see the difference when this stuff freezes. It's almost frozen. It's a different color than you can see that this one is. So when you're seeing the cold side of it, it's just like when the DeLorean comes back in Back to the Future from jumping, it's completely frozen and full of ice. It's because you're not dealing with hot fusion, you're dealing with cold fusion. And it's with the plasma. So this is showing you all the stuff right in plain sight. Not only this picture on here, but also the wording. So it's dealing with what I'm dealing with because my initials are in on this whole thing. So my initials are MT for Mike Telasky. So if you look at it like this, Mike T and Do. Okay, that's what my whole YouTube channel is about, is the 0 point, this dielectricity or dielectric. So you got Mike T and directed energy weapons, or you got Mike T and dielectric energy weapon, okay? Because dielectricity is faster than light. And that's precisely why when you look up in the sky at times, my pyramids are churning up the ether and they're turning the clouds blue before they make them disappear. That blue is called the Cherenkov effect. It's producing Cherenkov radiation like you see over nuclear reactors and turning the clouds blue and wiping them out, just completely erasing them. And that's why they've been paying so much attention to my little place here, because my concrete pyramids are churning up the ether and they're taking torsion field readings, trying to gather more data. So I've had my concrete pyramid set up since 2014. This is just a small example. My other ones are made from 3-foot molds. So getting back to the whole Mountain Dew thing. Okay, so my initials are in here, but think about it like this. Mountain, kind of like they're building here in Rogers City, a man-made pyramidal mountain. Okay, so you got mountain, and then you got dew. Okay, this is dealing with the directed energy weapons that they're probably setting up all this stuff for, because they want to lure the real craft in with this pyramid and all the vortexes I got going on here, and they want to try and shoot them down, get their technology and reverse engineer it, because all these different types of ETs could potentially have different types of propulsion and weapons, and they want to figure them all out. So there's a huge value in doing a program like this. So this ties directly into what they have just set up here. They've just set up and are adding more as we speak. A 22-mile stretch along the lake here of high voltage power lines. Okay, from MJ Electric. MJ is my middle initial, Michael Joseph. So this whole thing is directly tied to me, what I'm doing, and the elites. Like I showed you with the number 13 and the Illuminati. Because there's higher up people that know what's going on, but they ain't saying nothing. Because they're probably part of the deal. So basically, in 2014, I set up my concrete pyramids because I didn't believe this guy I seen that was showing how these things were producing this energy that you could feel. And I didn't believe him. He said that they were cloud busters. I didn't believe him. So I set up my own because I didn't know what a chemtrail was until 2009. And they just spray them like crazy over Rogers City, but they really started increasing it when I was living in town. So this is a picture from 2014. I had just set up my first set of 4 concrete pyramids, and they're just sitting behind my house on the ground. They're causing that whole thing with the Earth ionosphere connection. And they're producing this left-hand torsion field spiral, which is like when the clouds are coming overhead and get into the field, they start getting torn up like a blender, depending on how heavy they are and how fast everything's moving. So basically, they were spraying these chemtrails like crazy over my spot, and I put up these pyramids, and it started erasing their chemtrails. They started getting pissed, and then they wanted to find out where the source of it was, where the vortex was, and this is what I'm about to show you. So here you can see a fresh chemtrail going by, and you can see it starting to get chewed up before it's about to get erased. Here's some examples of the clouds being erased and turning blue. So here's an example of a hole punch. And okay, so when they were looking for the vortex in the beginning, this is what they were doing. Because I wanted to back all this stuff up with these claims that I'm making, because nobody's gonna believe you if you say that your pyramids are doing all this stuff to the clouds and having all these effects and attracting all these crafts. So I've been documenting this thing the whole time. So here you can see they're spraying all these chemtrails. They're trying to figure out where the vortex is. You can see this one getting faded out here. So they're just going wild. And you can see all these power lines here too, which is funny because my place is right here, and there's a whole four-sided grid basically around my house, because right next to my house is where the Charter Communications cable hub is. They got this little building sitting here, and all the fiber optic in the whole spot comes to this building. So there's a lot of action going on. When I put these pyramids here, it just took off like crazy. And all these crafts started showing up, and I can't keep them out of the airspace, and that's the whole deal. So when your pyramids start doing stuff like this, they really start paying attention and trying to figure out what's going on. Because none of this stuff's a joke. I ain't never been playing around with none of it. It's all completely serious. So, that was in 2014. Now, let's go to 2022. Okay, here's from August. This is from our local paper, the Presque-Isle Advance. Out of nowhere, Governor Gretchen Whitmer shows up. And that's what I'm talking about with this whole Illuminati and elite thing. Okay, we're just a small little town here. The governor never comes anywhere near this place. They could care less. But then this happened. She shows up to some super secret meeting where only a few people are invited at this round table. Nobody knew she was coming. And she meets with our mayor here. Okay, so what I believe happened here is they set up some kind of inside deal, or there was information passed, because to be doing any of this stuff over Rogers City or the surrounding area, you're gonna have to have at least the mayor involved as to what's going on. So this was done specifically at a very interesting spot, because this was taking place at the boat harbor in Rogers City, Michigan. This is where they went out to supposedly retrieve the weather balloon debris or whatever they shot down, or that they were just using as a cover story. They were supposed to go out right where this is being held. Very interesting. Okay, so Gretchen Whitmer shows up. Here's the old painted news article on it. And then we get into this. Okay, so this is from Thursday, February 16th, 2023. Okay, so this meeting took place in the summer of 2022, and then boom, object shot down over Lake Huron. Object shot down over Lake Huron sets off effort to clear harbor launch for the Coast Guard, which never happened. Okay, this was one of their cover stories or more cap. Okay, so here's a loader going into the harbor, supposedly clearing this place out, and they never went out to do any kind of search. So they're talking about a search and rescue, and as I've stated before, there was a call to dispatch to the sheriff's department that some guy said around this area in Rainy Lake that he had Chinese spy balloon debris in his yard, and he wanted somebody to come take a look at it. And the officer responded that he didn't know if he was qualified to look at it, and he was joking about it. Okay, so now look at this. Right on the same front page, they show you this neat little picture here. Here's the sheriff, and he's with this canine rescue dog. Okay, so they were supposed to do a rescue and recovery out of the boat harbor where right before that Gretchen Whitmer was, and now they're part of this whole deal. I'm telling you, there's more to this story. Okay, so they're putting it right in your face. So, fast forward, 2023. It's a Friday. I'm raking some black dirt in my yard because I'm getting ready to plant grass. All of a sudden, I hear this plane flying super low. this thing drops down over my pyramids and gets an awesome baseline torsion field reading. And I couldn't believe it. The plane took off. When I woke up on Saturday, the tarmac at Rogers City at the airport is covered with these planes. Okay? They're the Civil Air Patrol planes. And their cover story was that they brought the Civil Air Patrol in to train their cadets, which is more cap. Okay? What I figured out is that the Civil Air Patrol does the dirty work for the Air Force. And they brought all these planes in to start monitoring what I was doing with my pyramids and how their torsion fields are acting, because they got different, they're all different throughout the day. It's all dependent on the conditions. So they were doing all these flybys nonstop, completely just circling my spot, and they did it for like almost up to a week. So when they pulled that original reading on Friday, I went into town, saw all these planes sitting on the tarmac. When I got back out here, all those planes were in the air and they were doing loops, trying to go inside the field, outside the field, high, low, everywhere in between. And when they're doing all this stuff, I'm just sitting there videotaping them and watching them. And then they moved to my parents' house later on, where I also got pyramids set up, and they started doing the same thing. So they just kept taking all these torsion field readings, and everybody's seen all these black boxes coming off these planes and then getting loaded up and taken out. Nobody could figure out what was in those black boxes, but I knew right from the start what they were doing. And those black boxes are just data recorders from all their instrumentation that they had on board their craft with the torsion field readings. So not only probably were they mapping my spot, but they were mapping out the quarry too. And trying to get baseline readings before this whole thing was put up, because it's all part of this plan. And I think that their plan is to shoot down these with the DEWS, the directed energy weapons, because the dielectricity is the voltage, the magnetism is the amps. It's the voltage that that you are really wanting in this situation, because Tesla could run the voltage through him, but which is the dielectricity. But if you try to do that with the amps, then that's when you don't make it. So it's the amps that'll get you, not the voltage. This is the cold, not the hot. The electromagnetic is the hot. The dielectricity or dielectric, that's the cold. And that's what they're doing with this whole thing here in the quarry. They're setting up these conditions for them to try to take down more of these crap. Okay, so here's the other thing with the DEWS. Okay, so Gretchen Whitmer shows up here to Rogers City, holds this meeting, and then look at, they're putting this right in your face. Look at this next article right underneath her. It says, Catching the Sun. Boom. They show you all these sunflowers, and they're talking about trying to harvest the sun. Okay, so what they recently just got in place here down the road from my brother's house, this huge solar panel farm. 800 acres is what's going in or whatever, but it's all solar panels. Nobody's asking the right questions around here because it's all about energy. And I'm all about free energy. What they're doing, I'm pretty sure, all the evidence is pointing to it, is that with that new solar farm and all this power that they say that they need, they're setting this whole thing up to have that power their due. Okay, they're directed energy weapons. That's what they need all this power for. In all this stuff that I'm seeing, it only makes sense. So you got a solar farm that's sitting basically up in this area. If you were to travel on 23, it's over here. So there's definitely a power supply here, and there's something big that's gonna attract a lot of craft to the area that are the real ET stuff, the stuff that we want their technology. So when you tie all this stuff in, you're gonna see that Little Rogers City, Michigan is a very important place. I've been telling everybody I'm gonna put this place on the map like nobody else has done. I've had some friends that have done some pretty incredible things, but nothing's gonna compare to this. So if you haven't seen my other videos, please check them out. I appreciate everybody for watching. My friends and I, we're not stopping what we're doing. We got all these suckers backed into a corner, and they're just gonna have to keep taking it. Thanks for watching. Peace.